All right, influencers, I'm back. I am your host. Got a video for you today. Divorce rates skyrockets after China's New Year. A new law was passed that would keep people from taking money from the person in the relationship who makes the most money. Interesting. I really want to know how things are going with them here.
看看现在离婚的要排队。
Right now, there's a long line for divorces, but not a single person waiting to get married.
Now I understand why marriage doesn't require a waiting period, but divorce does. Look behind me. These are to get divorced. Today is the 8th day of the Lunar New Year. The office opened at 9 a.m., and in just 2 hours, this is the scene. I came here to help a client transfer property ownership, and I saw this with my own eyes. Just look at the line. Everyone here is getting a divorce. So far, I've only seen one couple getting married.
During the 2025 Chinese New Year, an unexpected topic gained widespread attention. The phrase, "Did your family argue during the New Year?" dominated trending searches throughout the holiday, resonating with many people. Some shared that before seeing it online, they thought family arguments during the New Year were unique to their own households. The woman said,
I just saw New Year fights trending online. My first thought was, so it's not just my family. That actually made me feel a bit better. In my home, fights can break out over anything, from something as small as a chopstick falling on the floor, too much filling in dumplings, or even a child coughing, to something as big as the footballer Messi controversy or international conflicts. The new year is supposed to be a time of joy, but in reality, the more people gather, the
They
more
got it
arguments
bad.
happen. The reasons are endless. If you can think of it, it can probably start a fight. Even now, I don't understand. Getting together for the holiday isn't easy, so why do people end up arguing?
among the most serious disputes were those between married couples. These conflicts were not limited to verbal arguments. Some escalated into physical altercations, including fights and overturned tables. As a result, when civil affairs offices reopened after the holiday, the number of people lining up for divorces exceeded those queuing up for free giveaways. Some believe the high divorce rate is due to the low cost of
Jeez.
marriage for women.
离婚率越来越高，到底是什么原因？
I think the high divorce rate comes down to marriage being too easy for women. If women had to buy a house and a car before getting married, would they still talk about divorce so casually? If they had to pay the groom a dowry worth hundreds of thousands, would they still be so quick to bring up divorce? If women were the ones responsible for financially supporting the household after marriage, the divorce rate would be much lower. Right now, women receive a bride price when they get married and can still make money when they divorce. That's why they feel so confident about leaving. They have nothing to lose. But for men, we spend a fortune on the wedding, and when we divorce, we lose even more.
Think about that. You want to marry this woman. You have to spend money on the marriage. You also have to spend money taking care of her. And the laws, which I'm assuming sounds like they were just like the United States, you're stuck having to pay for her when she decides, I don't want to be married to you anymore. Like, at what point in time do you just say, what am I paying for? What exactly as a man am I paying for where I'm getting married and you can just opt out and then take my money just because it was the pleasure of me taking your hand in marriage? Insane.
It's really tough for us. However, others argue that women choose to divorce because their husbands show little personal growth after marriage and fail to provide a stable life. One person commented,
为什么80%最美艳的女生都是离异的? Have you ever noticed that 80% of women in the beauty industry are divorced, and many of the most successful ones are also divorced? That includes me. I think the main reason is that women today are more independent. They've realized their value and unlocked their potential. And at some point, they start to see that the husband they chose isn't supporting them, isn't helping the family, and isn't taking responsibility for the household. Most women get married thinking they will take care of the home and family, but over time they realize their husband can't provide financial stability or fulfill his role. That's when they understand that relying on themselves is the only way to have a better life. So these women step up and start building careers. The more successful they
Listen
become,
to
the
that.
wider the gap with their husbands. And a lot of men can't handle having a wife who is more accomplished
Oh,
than them.
yeah.
So they try to bring her down. That's when divorce happens.
Mind you, this is a woman telling you what women want to hear and not actually talking to the men. Notice they use the same westernized mindset. They can't handle, they're intimidated by a woman with money. A normal woman who is a normal woman that happens to make more money can actually still be respectful and respect you as a man. Women always think that, well, if everyone else says that men are intimidated, oh, it must be simply because they're intimidated because they can't step up. Women always want the man to do better than them, and they always want to do better than the men. So it's like this thing that they don't seem to understand. To be at where men are financially and in the business spectrum, you have to become more masculine. And these women don't seem to understand that when you try to do better, you hide behind the fact that you saying, well, it's the men who basically don't know how to man up or they're intimidated. The fact of the matter is, you don't understand that you're continuously trying to compete with your spouse instead of trying to build a cohesive environment for you and your family. They'll never admit this, but that's exactly what it is. They don't like the fact that they were told to be like men. But in the process of that, they had to excel to be better than men. So now they're looking for men who are better than them, and they look down upon the man who isn't making as much money as them. They'll never admit that the actuality is they are ashamed of the fact that their man makes less than them.
On February 1st, Chinese authorities announced that the new marriage law had officially taken effect. The key change in this law is a clearer definition of property ownership.
Look at
In
those
the
women.
past, divorce disputes often centered around the
All
division
women.
of property purchased during marriage. A home, once seen as the foundation of a family during happy times, often became the biggest source of conflict when a relationship falls apart. The new law states that property is divided based on financial contribution. If a couple buys a home, ownership is determined by the proportion each person paid. If the husband paid for the home in full, the wife will not receive any share of the property in a divorce, even if her name is on the deed. Another common scenario involves parents purchasing a home for their son. Under the new law, such property remains entirely owned by the parents, with no claim from the spouse. The law also clarifies the status of personal property acquired before marriage. If one spouse fully paid for a home before the wedding and registered it in their name, it remains their personal property. Similarly, any property inherited or explicitly gifted to one spouse during the marriage is also considered personal property. In the past, many families of brides would insist on adding the wife's name to the property deed as a form of security and goodwill. While this could be a gesture of commitment in a strong marriage, it also led to disputes in cases of deception or short-lived unions. For men, the new law eliminates such conflicts and aims to prevent rushed or fraudulent marriages. For women, however, it significantly reduces the financial security marriage once provided. The idea that marrying well is better than living well, once prominent in China, is now considered outdated. The law also imposes stricter penalties on infidelity. If one spouse is found to have cheated, they may receive a smaller share of assets in a divorce, or in some cases, none at all. Following the law's enactment, many men have expressed strong support, while women have been far more critical.
Shocker.
Some argue that this law discourages women from getting married altogether, as marriage now offers fewer protections compared to remaining single. A widely shared comparison of the 2025 marriage law highlights two controversial clauses. The third article of the law states that after divorce, bride price payments must be returned, but dowries given voluntarily do not need to be refunded. The fourth article states that raising children is considered unpaid labor, effectively dismissing the value of women's contributions to marriage and family. Critics argue this provision has shattered any remaining hopes women had in the institution of marriage. Some social media users have analyzed the new marriage law and public reactions to predict 4 possible trends that may emerge after its implementation. First, Bride price demands may rise, while marriage rates could continue to decline. Some women may even prefer cohabitation over legal marriage, as a marriage certificate now offers little security, and divorce has become increasingly difficult. Second, fewer women may choose to have children. Motherhood could mean becoming an unpaid caretaker who is undervalued, while property ownership and a child's surname typically go to the husband's side. If a woman
Before I go any further, I want you to understand something. This is exactly what I said over a year ago. If you start putting more restrictions on having children, you don't get paid for having children, you don't get paid for marriage, you would start seeing a change that people, women, I'm going to say women, would take marriage more seriously. If you didn't get free money for having a child in the West, you would take it more seriously. I'm sorry to tell you, they're like children having children. They don't take it seriously because they're always going to get something free from it, no matter what happens. So when they go out like this and they're just like, you know what, I'm going to do this, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have this, they're not worried about the repercussions because there's someone, daddy government is always going to take care of them. But like China is already showing, where they're taking it seriously. I'm not looking to get married because I won't get anything from it. It's interesting how when the laws change, women change and start being more responsible. But of course, I'm the person who's wrong for calling this out.
is divorced, she could be left with nothing.
看最近的新婚姻法没有关于夫妻财产 Have you seen the new marriage law? It says that whatever money you earn is yours. What's yours is yours, and what's mine is mine.
See?
If her house was bought before marriage, it still belongs to the original owner after divorce, even if my name was later added to the deed. If the house was bought during marriage but paid for by the husband's parents, I wouldn't get a single cent after divorce. This means the traditional idea of men earning and women managing a household no longer applies. The law doesn't care how much housework I do, how many years I spend as a stay-at-home wife, how many kids I have, or how much I sacrifice for the family. It only protects the person with financial assets. So no matter how much money my husband makes, if we get divorced, I won't get a penny. After learning about this law, I lost all motivation. I don't feel like cleaning, washing clothes, or taking care of the kids. Why? Because none of that counts. If I worked as a nanny, I could make 5,000 to 6,000 yuan a month. But right now, I have no job and no income. And no matter how much I do, it won't mean anything. So don't call me lazy anymore. You can take care of the kids, cook your own meals, and wash your own clothes.
Wow. Dude, I'm sure that's probably like a Chinese skit, but wow. You agreed to have these children, and because you're not getting anything from it. Remember, in the West, best thing for children is the mother. They love the children. They want to take care of the kids and everything you can think of. Wow. And just like that, she was just like, you know what? That's your responsibility now. I'm not doing a doggone thing. See how petty women can be. And it's universal. It's universal how petty women can be when it comes down to when things don't go their way. Trump, please, I'm begging you, make this happen. Make marriage great again.
Third, financially independent women may avoid both marriage and cohabitation altogether. Those who want children might turn to IVF or surrogacy to have higher quality offspring, opting for relationships without legal commitment. This could fundamentally disrupt the traditional family structure in China. Finally, gender tensions may escalate, and the trend of avoiding marriage could intensify. Men who are seen as less desirable in terms of looks, status, or wealth may remain single. If marriage no longer provides security, status, or control over a child's surname, some argue there is little incentive for women to get married.
Right now, the real concern isn't that Gen Z isn't having kids or that younger generations are avoiding marriage. The bigger issue is that even people in their 40s are now supporting their children's decision not to get married or have kids. Especially after the new marriage law took effect on February 1st, more people will likely choose to remain single, especially women. This should serve as a wake-up call. Relying on others is never as secure as relying on yourself. To put it simply, the core of the new marriage law is that assets belong to their original owner. Even if a property is transferred during marriage, it's not considered joint property. No matter how much effort a spouse puts into the household, if they don't have their own income, they will receive nothing after a divorce. For women, financial independence is the only real security. No matter how great the passenger seat is, nothing beats being in control of the wheel yourself.
Former Peking University professor Guo Chunlin believes the rising divorce rate is an inevitable social trend.
It's crazy.
He said, In the next 30 to 40 years, the divorce rate could reach 300%. Some people might go through 3 divorces in their lifetime. This is just a natural part of social development.
Insane.
Marriage stability is no longer based on traditional values. In the past, family pressure kept marriages together. Now, the law plays that role. But at its core, marriage used to be stable because women depended on men. Today, as society moves toward equality, that dependency is fading. I often say that the instability in marriage isn't caused by men. It's because women are becoming more independent. In traditional society, women had no financial power. Now, with equal rights and awareness, they are challenging old norms. In the past, people believed that women belonged to the home, while men belonged to the world. Women had to marry to experience the world through their husbands. Today, women can access the world directly without needing a man as a bridge. As women become more independent in wealth, personality, and freedom, they also become more dominant in relationships. This naturally leads to higher divorce rates. It's a reflection of social progress.
I'm going to leave the description in the box for you so you won't see it, but I want to leave off with this. What's going on here is exactly what's going on everywhere else. We are a cancer. United States, America is a cancer. See, the problem is, it's not that women shouldn't get better jobs and be better. We started pushing them to be the best that money could buy. They were better than men, and we told them that they're better than men, and men are holding them back left and right. And so the point is that women started to see that, well, I need to out-earn these men and be better than these men. And in a lot of cases, they want to be better than men, make as much money as men, but not work as much as men. And that's where the problem started becoming a problem. They became more masculine. They started looking down upon the average men. They're average women who are with average men who are looking at the average men as less than them. And the men who are better than them, they think that they're up there, but they're not. Not to mention the pool is a whole lot smaller. So the same problem is that women think that, women were oppressed, but then they felt like they're still oppressed, and to the point that they sit here and say, I need to keep doing better and then doing better and then doing better. Marriage rates are going down. Birth rates are going down. The honest truth is they're changing laws all around us because of the fact that the problem is that birth rates are going down. We're not reproducing enough children. China's definitely having that problem. United States is beginning to have that problem. And that's because we've allowed the government to intervene in marriages, telling you can't be married unless you have a legal marriage within the eyes of the courts. And in the process of that, we're going to make a whole bunch of laws that make it very easy. If you are, as a woman, you want to get out of a divorce, and you get paid for it. So, of course, this built a disconnect between the family, marriage, nuclear family, and the ability to make children. The government ruined it, and now we have to figure out a way to fix it. Otherwise, we're going to have a huge problem in the near future. I'm Black Irish, signing off.